Hey everybody, I'm John Granado. That's Lance Zerline. You can hear us mornings on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Hit subscribe if you haven't yet, so you get all of our content here at SportsMap HOU. Lance, a few days ago, Ian Rappaport reported that Will Levis pretty quietly had a top 30 visit with the Texans sometime in the last few weeks. Contrast that with the Texans no-showing C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young's pro days. We reading anything into it?
I don't know. I imagine they had, pretty good visits with them at the combine. I didn't hear if they're having them in for the 30-day or for the top 30 visits or individual visits. It's not really top 30. But if they're going to have them in, then they get them to themselves anyway. So I don't think we should read too much into that at all. No, I honestly don't think so. I think they've probably done a lot of work on both of those two players and maybe want to get a little bit more done on Levis, or maybe after, I don't know when it was decided, but maybe after his pro day, they said, hey, let's bring him in. He had a pretty good pro day. So I don't know that we read too much into it, but like you and I have been talking about this whole time, like you have to be careful about just assuming what Nick Caserio is going to do. The Texans as an organization have never been do what all the fans think they're going to do anyway, well before Nick Caserio. And Caserio's entire run of being a general manager has been with bigger quarterbacks. So, I don't think you can completely write off Will Levis. And if the Texans got a trade offer to move up to 2, maybe they would consider that. Maybe that's why they're looking at Levis.
Well, okay, let's say they take him at 2, though. Okay, the fan base will go, will go nuts. Okay, they take Will Levis at 2. Are you okay with that? Since I'm okay with it, since if you think he's your guy and he is going to be your quarterback for the next 10 years, I'm all right with them taking it at 2.
What's your job?
Even though they could trade back, but you risk losing him if you trade back.
Well, yeah, it's your job. So if you're fine with that evaluation, then go ahead. He's going to have to play well, so I guess time will tell. I know fans get upset, but let's let it play out. I always say that, and people get upset, but you have to let it play out. But if it doesn't go well, Nick Caserio for sure will get fired, and if it doesn't work out fairly quickly.
Well, listen, after Sauce Gardner last year, okay, he honestly, you got to look at Nick Caserio right now and say he missed on that. And if he passes on a C.J. Stroud because Bryce Young is gone, and C.J. Stroud goes to the Colts at number 4 while he takes Will Levis at number 2, boy, he's really risking his entire career.
Well, I think Stroud and Bryce Young are both the Sauce Gardners to Will Levis's Derek Stingley. I think that's a really good analogy because it's the same kind of thing. You have one guy with traits, but the tape hasn't been that good. And then you got other guys with better tape and better productivity. They feel like a little safer bets. They feel like surer bets, but they definitely feel like safer bets. To pass on a safer bet for the traits guy that doesn't have great tape, that's exactly what he did with Derek Stingley's 21 and 20 tape versus what you just had with Sauce Gardner. So, yeah, it's the same kind of combination. That would be, boy, you do that 2 years in a row. Whew, you better hope that one hits.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, well, here's the deal is, okay, so Bryce Young, we talked about this morning. You said you look at the tape, Bryce Young is great. But are we just ignoring the fact that no quarterback that's this small has ever made it in the NFL because we're so desperate for a quarterback to make it here?
Well, I don't know that it's that. Do you just automatically write him off, or do you go by what you've seen? He played in a top conference. He didn't play in a smaller conference. He played on a great team against very good competition. He played well against good competition, and he did it for 3 years. So, yeah, he would be an outlier, but you have to also, if the tape is 80% of the evaluation, then what does the tape tell you? Tape tells you he's a good quarterback. So you do take the physical size into account, and then you make a decision. Do you want to let that paralyze you with your analysis, or do you want to ignore it? I think there's a healthy dosage of skepticism needed where you have to have honest conversations. But at the end of the day, you just have to say, is the juice worth the squeeze? And for me, it would be. But for some teams, I don't think it would be. I think they would say, no, we'd rather go big and physical and stronger. Who are the Texans going to be? My guess is if he's there too, they'll take him.
And listen, and the Texans may not want to take C.J. Stroud at all because of David Mulligeta. But are you worried? Okay, if you're Nick Caserio after what happened last year with Sauce, back to that, you don't want the Colts to get C.J. Stroud. You almost have to take C.J. Stroud just to keep the Colts from getting him?
Yeah, if they have him evaluated high enough, yeah, I would say that's one way of looking at it. Although I think that may be a mistake. If you are that worried about him for another team, then he's got to be your pick.
Yeah, right.
You can't worry about the other stuff.
But after you made that mistake, that Sauce Gardner mistake last year, everybody's thought C.J. Stroud is thought to be the guy. The tape shows you he's the guy. So even if you believe Will Levis is better, you almost have to take the guy.
Yeah, I think I mean, there's pressure. There's pressure for you to take the higher floor now, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.